gorgeous, welcome back to Life and Style. Today's video is going to be a blush declutter part 2. This declutter is all of my high-end blushes. So I did a first part with my drugstore more affordable blushes. These are going to be my higher end blushes, and we're going to go through them, talk about what I'm keeping and what I am decluttering and why. And so we're going to start with this little smattering that I have here. I have Illamasqua, It Cosmetics, 3 from The Balm, a Kat Von D, Laura Geller, and then 2 from Clinique. So I'm going to start up here with the Illamasqua blushes. The first one actually I had purchased, I believe I had gotten it on Outlook. People had talked about these blushes so much, so I needed to have one no matter what color. This one is in Excite, and as you can see, that is a pretty bright kind of orangey color, and I'm hoping this camera will focus so you can see that. That is really, really, really bright. I have never used this blush because of that. Again, it was inexpensive because it was on Outlook and it was Illamasqua, but I've never used it. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. I am going to keep the second one I have. It's called Thrust, and it is a beautiful purpley pink type of color, bright but still kind of subdued. I have used this many times and I love the way it looks on my skin. I love to use this especially when I'm doing kind of a purple monochromatic look, where I'm doing a purple smoky eye, you know, purple lips and that sort of thing, and I'll keep the cheeks purple, and this is the perfect blush to do that with, so I will tend to gravitate towards this one when I'm doing something like that. The next one I have is the It Cosmetics Je ne sais quoi Ombre Blush. I didn't know what to expect from this blush when I first got it, because to be honest, when you look at it, it doesn't look like much in the pan. You know, you can tell it's ombre, it's pretty kind of blush, but man, one of the most gorgeous blushes I own, one of the most beautiful flush on the cheeks you can ever get, and I believe just because of the way the shade works, I think this could really be used for so many different skin tones because it's just so gorgeous. It's light, but it can be built up, and just looks absolutely beautiful on the cheeks. So this is one that I'm definitely going to hold on to as well. So I have 3 blushes here from The Balm. The first 2 I have are In-Stain blushes. If you have never used In-Stain blushes, I implore you to buy one. These blushes come in so many different shade ranges, and they are just gorgeous. So this one I have here is Houndstooth. This is by far and away one of my favorite blushes that I own in my collection. I always grab this, and this is one of those blushes where I have to tell myself to put it down and try something different because I just love it so much. That purpley, mauvey type of pinky hue is absolutely gorgeous on my skin tone. These are excellent blushes. The quality of these blushes is very, very, very good. And that's why I say if you haven't tried them, try them. The packaging, of course, is absolutely gorgeous, as The Balm's packaging tends to be, and so it's just a really nice full package of blush. The second one I have is in Lace, which is a very as you can see there, very bright pink, kind of a bluish pink. I am going to go ahead and pass this one along because, again, I have a lot of shades that are like this, so I don't need, you know, 22,000 of them in my collection. And, you know, someone else can make use of it, and again, it's not because of the formula. Formulation is gorgeous, just because I don't really reach for this color anymore. The third balm blush I have is Cabana Boy. As you can see, a pretty good indication of my favorite types of colors, these purpley kind of mauvey colors. This is also one of my favorite blushes. The formulation is there, the quality is there, and the shade is just absolutely unsurpassed for me. I absolutely love it, so this is definitely going to stay in my collection as well. Moving on to this Kat Von D blush. Kat Von D blushes are no longer made. These were on sale quite some time ago on her website, and I had heard extremely good things about the formulation. So I went ahead and purchased it. This one is called Polvida, and that's the way it looks. It is a gorgeous blush on the cheeks, blends out beautifully, lasts for several hours, and the formulation on this is just gorgeous. I hope that she does blushes again because this formulation was absolutely just on top. Absolutely love it. So I'm definitely not going to get rid of this. This next one is a Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl Blush. This is in Plumberry. I purchased this from Outlook a couple of months ago and have used the crap out of this blush. It is gorgeous on the cheeks. The color is subtle, but you can build it up without you know, looking cakey or feeling like you have too much on your cheeks. If you haven't tried these Swirl Gelato blushes, definitely do so. This again is another high recommend for me. This Plumberry shade is just absolutely beautiful on my skin tone. The next two blushes I have are the Clinique Cheek Pop blushes. And the first one I had purchased was the Plum Pop. First of all, the packaging is absolutely so adorable. Love it. But the blush itself is absolutely gorgeous. Packaging, of course, is beautiful, but the blush is so subtle. This is another one where you can build it up without feeling like you have too much on your cheeks, and it is a very, very good blush. And then the second one that I have, I purchased on purpose because they gave a portion of this purchase for breast cancer awareness. I am a breast cancer survivor, so whenever I can help in that instance, I always like to do so. This is in Berry Pop, and if you could see there, it has the gorgeous pink ribbon for breast cancer awareness. I purchased this on the Nordstrom website. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to absolutely have it. And I do use these blushes quite often, so they are going to stay in my collection as well. So these are the MAC blushes that I own. This one right here, definitely staying. This was part of their Nutcracker Sweet holiday collection, which was not this Christmas but last Christmas. This is an extra dimension skin finish blush, and also the highlighter Whisper of Guilt. Now Whisper of Guilt is coming back out permanently, but this is the way the compact looks, and you were able to actually pre-order some of this stuff, so I went ahead and did that. Whisper of Guilt, there's nothing to say about it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. This blush here, and I'm going to try to see if I can get the name of it. It just says Copper Face Compact Extra Dimension Skin Finish. I didn't know what to think about that blush because it wasn't necessarily something that I gravitate towards. If you see the blushes that I've been showing you, this is not really something that I would necessarily go for. One of the most gorgeous blushes that I have ever used in my entire life. I love the way this blush looks on my skin. And again, Whisper of Guilt, there's nothing to say about it. It's just absolutely perfect. So this again is going nowhere because I absolutely love that compact and I use it quite often. The next MAC blush I have is in Spellbinder, which is a satin blush. This was part of their oh God, Fairies collection. I forget what it was called. And I remember that at that point I was just starting to kind of really get into collecting makeup and thinking about starting my channel. So I jumped on this collection pretty hardcore because I know that collections before then had sold out. Unfortunately, I never picked this blush up. I think I may have used it once or twice. It's an okay shade. It's a little light for my skin, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this along. The next one I have is from the Wash and Dry collection. This is in Hypnus, which is a frost. This color definitely looks nicer on my skin than the one I just showed you. This is one that I do use quite often, so I am going to keep this one. Then when Mariah Carey came out with her more recent collection, I went ahead and got this. It's called You've Got Me Feeling, and it is a little bright, but it looks really nice on my skin. And actually year round, it doesn't necessarily look good if I'm lighter or tanned or anything, but it is a pretty blush on my skin, so I'm going to keep this one as well. This one is a blush that I purchased when I was in New York last year for IMATS. It's an extra dimension blush, and this is in the shade Wrapped Candy. I have talked about this extensively on my channel. I use it quite often. It is one of my favorite blushes. This shade is just like, I can't even explain it to you. So that's it right there. And how beautiful is that shade? Every time I put this on, I just like ooh and ah over my own cheeks because the blush is so perfect. Then the last one I have here is called Yum Yum Yum. It's a magic dust powder. This also was part of their Nutcracker Sweet collection. This has a little shimmer on it, but I don't necessarily use this as a blush per se. I use it as a blush topper or just above my cheeks to add a little shimmer. It's not being toted as a highlighter because it's not. It's more like a face powder. So if I want a little kind of shimmer there and just a little lightness in the skin, I will pick this up. So the next grouping of blushes I have here, I've got Lorac Studio Makeup, Becca Makeup Geek, and Tarina Tarantino. So I'm going to start back here with the Tarina Tarantino blushes. These are actually duos. This is called the Doll Skin Cream Blush and Pressed Sparklicity Duo. I don't remember if I knew that they were cream blushes, but I will tell you that this part of it, if you are looking to add glitter to your face, to your décolleté, anywhere, this is far and away some of the best glitter that I have used. I'm going to show you the other one as well. This one that I just showed you was in Coral Cameo, and this one is in Mr. Pink. As you could see, that blush is extremely bright, but this glitter, like all about it. When you need glitter anywhere on your face, it's like this dusting. And I don't know if you're picking that up, and I'm hoping that you can. It's just glitter everywhere. So what I do is even though I don't use the blush, I keep these for that specific purpose. When I need a good wash of glitter on my skin, that is what I reach for. I am hoping the camera's picking that up because when I'm looking at it here, there's just like glitter everywhere. So those are really nice, and I'm glad that I had purchased them when I did. The next two I have are from Studio Makeup. This one here, which is Wildflower, I got in a BoxyCharm quite some time ago. And I remember that when I started wearing this blush, I could not get enough of this blush. All I kept saying to myself was like, this is the prettiest blush I have ever used in my entire life. It is gorgeous. It blends out beautifully. The quality for the product is absolutely there. And then probably about 8 months ago, they came to Outlook, and I picked up Plum because, of course, you know me and my plummy type of mauvey colors. So I picked this one up and absolutely love it. I have not been picking up Wildflower as much as I used to, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one because I do have other things in my collection that look similar to this, but I am going to keep the Plum because I do use that a lot. Then I have 3 of the Lorac Buildable blushes. I have 3 of those here. The first one is in Vivid, which, as you can see, it's a very, very bright pink color. I purchased these because, you know, first of all, I thought that the colors were going to look good on my skin. This one is a little bit bright, just too pink for my taste, so I am going to pass this one along. Formulation on these blushes are some of the very, very, very best that I have ever tried. The second one I have here is in Spectra, which is pretty. It's a little lighter than the one you see there, but I don't reach for this one either as often as I do the last one that I'm going to show you, and that is the one that I'm definitely going to keep, so I am also going to pass this one along. This one is an Infrared, which, if you could see there, that's right up my alley. This color looks good on me year round, especially in the summer though when I'm a little more tan, but like I said, the blush formulation, some of the very, very best that I have ever tried, and this color blows my socks off. So this one is definitely going to stay here with me. Then I have a Lonely Makeup Geek blush in Desire. This is one of those as well that will never ever leave my collection, and I will continue to repurchase it as long as they continue to make this blush. It is gorgeous on my skin tone. It blends out beautifully. It lasts for hours. It is just one of those blushes that's all around perfect from start to finish. And I do, you know, it's one of those things where I don't know why I haven't gotten more, and it's probably just because I have so many blushes overall. But this formulation is absolutely gorgeous. Not only do they make it in the compact, but they also sell them separately. So if you had like a you know, magnetic palette, you could put that in there as well. So now we're up to the 3 Becca blushes that I have in single, you know, like individual compacts. So the first one I have here is Lantana. This was another one that I just needed to buy because I had to have a Becca blush. I purchased this on Outlook quite some time ago and have never used it because it was too bright and I was too scared to do so. So I am gonna pass this one along. I do use the next one that I'm going to show you. This one is definitely staying here. It is in Flower Child, one of the prettiest blushes that I have ever owned. Formulation is absolutely there. I can't say anything bad about the Becca formulation, and this color looks good on my skin, so I'm going to keep this one. And then this one is the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector Champagne Splits that Jacqueline Hill did with them. And this is in Champagne Pop is the highlighter, and then Hyacinth is the blush. I pick this up quite often, love the brightness of that blush, and of course Champagne Pop is a gorgeous highlighter. If you haven't used it, it just looks absolutely beautiful on the face. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that as well because I do get a lot of use out of this one. So we've come to the end of the high-end blushes. As you can see here, I have NARS Tarte, Too Faced Kat Von D, some Benefit, and Marc Jacobs. So I'm going to start up front here with the Too Faced Papa Don't Peach blush. This was one that I wanted to like so very, very much. For me, unfortunately, this is not really a blush. This is more like a blush topper. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this along because I just have not been getting that much use out of it because it just doesn't really show up on my skin. The smell is absolutely wonderful. Smells like peaches, but again, I just don't use it enough to warrant it staying in my collection. The next one I have here is the Too Faced Sweethearts Perfect Flush Blush, and this is in Something About Berry. This is absolutely gorgeous as far as colors go, but it has for me just a little too much shimmer, and it's one that I've kept in my collection more for decorative purposes than actually using it, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along as well. The next blush I have from Tarte is the from Tarte, and it's the Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blush in Amused. This color, unfortunately, is a little too bright and light for me at the same time, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to someone who can use it. I do own Amazonian Clay blush palettes, some of the very best blushes that you could ever own if you have oily skin. These just sit on the skin beautifully. They keep your skin mattified and just are absolutely gorgeous. The next 2 blushes I have from Too Faced are their Love Flush blushes. So this first one I have here is How Deep Is Your Love, which is pretty, but not something I necessarily reach for all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to someone who can make better use of it. The second one I am definitely going to keep because I use it a lot. It's called Your Love is King, and it just has the most beautiful purpley mauve hue. Again, the formulation of this blush is absolutely gorgeous, one of the very best that I own. So the formulation is absolutely on point. And again, this color is just one of my favorites. So we're going to go to 3 NARS blushes that I have here. The first one that I have is the Blusher Bronzer Duo in Orgasm, and then Laguna being the bronzer. This one I got from Sephora, where they kind of get you at the end there with the smaller you know, items if you're traveling or want to try something. And I do use this often, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that in my collection. The second NARS blush that I'm going to talk to you about, I've talked about this blush on this channel. It's called Amore, and that is what it looks like. Of course, up my alley with that shade. NARS blushes are fabulous. Like, there's nothing else to say about them except they are fabulous. Formulation is on point. You get a lot of different colors, you know, in the color selection there, but just beautiful. These are some of the longest lasting blushes I own, and I absolutely love them. And then the last one I have here, I actually got at TJ Maxx, and I don't know what it totes itself as. I thought it was a blush. It's called New Order, but this for me is definitely not a blush. So I use it more as a highlighter because it is way too pink, and for me, way too glittery. So I don't know if you're picking up on that. You probably can't really. It's more like a light wash of glitter, so that's what I use it for. The next blush I have is from Kat Von D. This was one of her Shade and Light blushes, and this is in Bonnie and Clyde. My sister found this for me in TJ Maxx and gave it to me for Christmas, not this year but last year, because she knows that I am obviously into collecting makeup, but obviously love Kat Von D as well, and these were not available anywhere. These blushes were completely discontinued. I think they were just really bad, and people were, you know, just not happy with the quality that these blushes had. So I've never used this. This was kept really merely for collective purposes, and I am not ashamed to say that I'm going to keep it for that. She probably paid $5 for this thing, you know what I mean? So this is one that you can't get anymore, so I am going to keep it. Moving on to two Benefit blushes, box blushes that I have here. The first one is Hervana, and I think I've used this a few times, not a lot. I always leave the brushes and everything in there just because of the packaging of it. But this was, I had gotten like a whole set of these box blushes several, maybe like a year and a half ago or so, because they were just all the rage and I needed to own all of them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this along because I really don't reach for this as much as I should reach for it. And then the second one is Rockateur. This one I do use and I absolutely love. This is one of those that has, if you've never seen it, as you can see, it has an iridescence there, but it just goes on the cheeks so beautifully. I also own a few, actually maybe just one Benefit palette that I own, and it has Rockateur in it and a couple of other ones. So those definitely were going to stay in my collection, but I'm definitely going to keep this because I do use it quite often. And then the last blush that I have here, I don't want it to break, is a newer purchase of mine. I did haul this several months ago. I purchased it after Christmas at Sephora. It is one of the air blushes from Marc Jacobs. This is 508 Night Fever and Hot Stuff, which is their darkest color selection that I saw. One of my favorite blushes right off the bat. I have talked about this a lot, and I want to say I think it made a favorites of mine after I had purchased it. It is soft and just, it feels so beautiful on the skin. It looks so beautiful on the skin. It blends out beautifully. This also is a blush that lasts for hours and hours without signs of stopping. It is just gorgeous. Again, that is the darkest that I found for my skin tone. I don't know that I'd buy any more unless they came out with darker colors, or, you know, colors just as dark, because the rest seem pretty light for my skin tone. But again, one of the very best blushes I own. It's $42. It is pretty expensive, but it is worth every penny. So let's look at what I have decluttered with the higher end blushes here. And as you can see, there was kind of a pattern here where it wasn't necessarily, actually none of these were the formulation of the blushes. The formulation of the blushes were absolutely on point. It's just the fact that I did not reach for them as much as, you know, I think one should, to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to keep it in my collection, only because, you know, some of these colors were too light. So I didn't declutter too much, not as much as the drugstore or more affordable blush brands. But again, these are several blushes that someone else can be using and making better use of than just me having them sit in my collection because, you know, they cost me a lot of money, or they're a MAC brand, or, you know, who's going to get rid of Papa Don't Peach. But they just don't work for me as far as coloring goes, and I don't find myself reaching for them. So these are going to go to someone else who may, you know, find better use for them and really put them to use, as opposed to me and them just sitting in my collection. So that's going to do it for this blush declutter of my higher end blushes. I hope it's something you enjoyed watching. If you have questions on any of the blushes that I decluttered, or want to see any of the ones that I kept in upcoming videos or tutorials, please just let me know. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, be sure to click that little bell so you get alerted as to whenever I upload new content. Thanks again for spending a few moments of your day with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!